All right, so a bunch of you have sent me an article on a massive changing coming into 401ks and IRAs, and I read it. It's a big fat nothing burger, man. The biggest thing is the change to RMD potentially. It looks like it has bipartisan support in the House. Nothing's going to get past this session. I mean, the session, we got an election coming up, and then it'll be a lame duck. Nothing's going to get passed. If they want to change the RMDs from 72 to 75, that's fine. That should mean nothing, frankly. I mean, it should say to you, you still got to be moving money out of your IRAs if you're married. If you're not married, you're not worried about RMDs. Who cares? That's a big fat nothing burger. They're going to talk about giving students instead of who got to pay student loans. They can't afford to pay their student loans. They have to take advantage of their employer contributions match. So the employer will be incentivized to make the match if students contribute to student loans. That's fine. That's nothing wrong with that. It's just not a huge change. I say at the end of the day, I think we need to revisit this whole college thing. I think the college experience has been corrupted probably for at least 20 years now. In fact, it's funny. Dinesh D'Souza had written a book in the early 90s. And there's a professor, it's Dr. Stanley Fish from Duke. And I remember Dinesh talked about him in his book, who used to drive around in a snarky way with a bumper sticker that says, "I don't believe the liberal media." Basically, those right-winger conspiracy theorists, ha, ha, ha. Well, turns out it wasn't conspiracy. The colleges are corrupt from beginning. So what I'm trying to say is we need to stop coddling these college people. We need to stop this idea of giving rewards for taking on student debt. We need to stop incentivizing people to go to college. That's all there's to it. It's kind of like we're incentivizing. You used to be able to write off your interest on credit cards. Did you know that? A long time ago. You used to be able to deduct it. So what does that do? It encourages debt, does it not? Of course it does. It's kind of like the same thing with why companies don't pay out dividends, and instead they take debt in order to buy back shares. You know why? Because you can write off interest on your debt. But dividends are the typical example of double taxation. The company gets taxed on the profits, and if they use those profits to pay a dividend, you get taxed on the dividend as well when you receive that dividend. So it's double taxation. Companies tax on the profits, assuming they make a profit, and then you are and so they use those profits to pay the dividend. You in turn, you get the dividend, you pay taxes on it. Debt, though, on the other hand, the company gets to write off the interest on the debt. And so again, it's a perverse incentive to take on debt. A perverse incentive to borrow on a mortgage too, for sure, because you get to, quote, write it off. Of course, most people don't write it off anymore with the higher standard deductions. But even if you are writing off, come on, buddy, it doesn't matter. You're still taking debt. You still got a loan to pay back. Even if you're paying 90% of principal, you're still paying the loan back. So we need to stop incentivizing people, to go to college and take on mass amount of debt to be indoctrinated in freaking Maoist, Marxist tactics a la Black Lives Matter. All right, so what else they got? So they said raise RMDs, automatic enrollment, which is, that's fine. There's lots of people say, we've done studies that proves it. Whatever, okay. I got no problem with that, as long as you allow the person, because it is their money, by the way, not to do it. And don't make it an iris code that he's got to fill out not to automatically enroll. So RMDs increase the savers credit, which I got no qualm with. That's actually a pretty good plan, where they say, hey, if you do this and you're making this kind of money, we will give you essentially a government grant of a matching to your account. I got no qualm with that. What else they have in there? And then, make it easier for smaller companies to get together, offer retirement accounts. Look, all that stuff's fine. At the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. The idea that low-income people need tax-deferred accounts is just silly, man. Only thing you're doing with tax-deferred accounts is you're giving yourself a tax bomb once you hit Social Security via the tax torpedo. I would prefer, frankly, you don't have a tax-deferred account, just because you are deferring low taxes today in which to pay higher tax in the future. Not a good financial move. The nice thing about the tax-deferred accounts, frankly, is that it does have limits on how you can access certain money. So if you take it out before you're 59 and a half, you get 10% penalty. And that does incentivize people to leave it in there. One of the benefits about annuities, frankly, is that with the surrender charges and all that, you do have more people are going to be hesitant to take out their money on annuities or deferred accounts because they don't want to pay a surrender charge. It gives them just that little bit of a electric shock, essentially. Say, before you do that, so that makes sense. Other than that, it's not that big of a deal. Again, I don't invest anything in deferred accounts anymore. I put all mine in. Now I'm self-employed. I put all mine in post-tax accounts because I want to make sure I'm not paying anything as little as I can when I retire. Once you're in those big tax-deferred monies, your options are limited in terms of tax planning. They just really are. And don't forget, the government needs your money more in the future than they do now. So pay them now at the lowest rate and get them off your back for the future. Now we'll see you.